So, how to actually do self-inquiry and abide as awareness. I don't tend to prescribe self-inquiry so much. Perhaps it's because my videos and coaching conversations with people are a form of self-inquiry on their own anyway. But also, I've spoken to many people who seem to get caught on a kind of never-ending self-inquiry train of endless looking and seeking for ultimately what's already here. I feel like self-inquiry can so easily turn into another thing for the separate self to do when that's the very illusion you're trying to see through. You see, the guy who invented self-inquiry, Ramana Maharshi, didn't actually want to prescribe self-inquiry at first. He preferred to sit in silence, radiating pure peace and presence, and allow the silence itself to communicate the message. Many of his disciples tell of having breakthrough spiritual awakenings and sinking into profound peace simply by being in his presence. But over time, more and more people heard about Ramana's presence, flocked to see him, and wouldn't stop asking questions like, "But isn't there a practice that I need to do? Can't you give me some specific instructions that will lead me to realizing what you have?" Because the mind always wants something to do. For the mind, awakening is always coming. It's always just around the corner. Initially, the mind cannot fathom that the so-called awakening is already here. It finds it very hard to accept that it's already here because if it's already here, what happens to it? That's right. It doesn't have a job to do, and it ends. You see, Ramana knew that it's already here. He knew that we already are this presence of awareness as which everything appears. He knew that any suggestion otherwise, any suggestion that I am a separate limited individual, is just a claim, an assertion that masks the obvious glaring truth. He knew that he didn't have any special knowledge or power or any special state of being that anyone else doesn't already have. But these apparently separate people wouldn't stop asking questions and wanting practices and instructions. Because we've all had years of conditioning that to get to something, we have to do something. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of doing things. It's just, where is this doing coming from? Is it coming from the paradigm of being a separate, limited individual to which awakening and peace and happiness is coming in the future? Or is it coming from a new paradigm, the recognition that we already are this awake, aware presence and that peace and happiness is our nature? Doing is a spontaneous arising from being, and when done in service of being, it embodies this truth. There's something to do to pay your taxes, to drive your car, to heal your trauma, and to arrive at the seat where you sit to meditate and let your mind unwind. But all of those are specific states or situations. With awakening, we're not talking about a state or situation. We're talking about the truth. We're talking about what's already true and what's already the case. Ultimately, any more doing from the paradigm of being a separate individual, listening to the mind, believing it to be you, and believing that something is coming, some kind of light bulb is going to switch on and you're going to get it, is more of the mind doing its thing. It's more of the belief that you are not already awake, that you are not already this aware presence, this infinite consciousness that's appearing right now, but are a separate limited individual who's going to realize this and have some kind of special awakened knowledge. It's more mind activity. You see, self-inquiry wasn't prescribed as another thing to do so that you arrive somewhere. It's an investigation into who you really are. If you are damn sure and insistent that you're a separate individual, is going to find this. But we mistake ourselves to be our body, our mind, and our thinking. We see the presence of thoughts We see the presence of what appears to be a separate body in a separate world, and we say, that's me. The world isn't me, it's out there. I'm this flicker of consciousness located inside this body or inside this brain, looking out of these eyes onto a separate world that's outside of me. But when we ask the question, who am I? Who am I really? We are forced to stop and investigate deeper. When thoughts, sensations, or emotions arise, instead of getting caught up in them, we ask ourselves, to whom do these thoughts, sensations, or emotions arise? And of course, our initial answer will be, well, to me, of course. But then we ask the question again, but who am I? What is the nature of this separate me? Where is it? And of course, we can do this over and over for eternity. We can think forever that some answer is going to come from the mind, but the whole point of the question is to destroy the question. The whole point of the question is to show that this separate self that you're looking for isn't really there. It's all made out of thoughts and feelings. Thoughts that, as you look down at your body, say, that's me. Sensations in the body that have you believe you're located inside it and restricted by it. You see that thoughts and feelings come and go, but you're still here, silently watching. So they cannot be the foundation of who you truly are. You see that feelings come and go, but you're still here, silently watching, unattached and naturally allowing them to flow through. You see that all thoughts and feelings, and the whole appearance of the body and the world, all effortlessly arise and disappear in this space of awareness, this ever-present consciousness that underlies all experience, and that's what I am. In fact, when you say, I am, you already notice what that really refers to. If you're really honest, this simple presence of awareness as which everything arises. So, what can you ultimately do in order to get to this, considering you already are this and it's already the case? Do the self-inquiry if your intuition says so. I'm not discouraging it. If it calls you, do the investigation into who you really are and the true nature of reality. It can be incredibly helpful to investigate, not with your mind, but with your attention, what's really going on. And to look at reality so closely that you begin to see what it truly is. And even when you see what it truly is, there'll always be more that you can see because it's infinite. But just know that all of this doing, all this investigation, looking, inquiry, and asking questions all arises as this consciousness that's appearing right now. That which already is and that which you already are. We are God, aka infinite consciousness, dreaming this dream of 8 billion people and trillions of animals in a world, simultaneously experiencing all of these apparent perspectives at once. We are the infinite creator appearing to ourselves, projected out as some kind of movie screen or hologram made out of nothing but what we call consciousness, which is what we are. We are so powerful, we have managed to convince ourselves that we are the character appearing on the screen, that we are the form appearing in this hologram, but we can realize that we are this self-aware hologram itself. Self-inquiry is a kind of focusing down onto all these thoughts, feelings, and sensations, trying to find the answer or trying to find the true me in a focus point of attention. But eventually you see that wherever you focus, you can't find any separate entity there. Hopefully and eventually the mind gives up and attention relaxes back into its source, and you zoom out from all that focusing and trying to find yourself in a thought and feeling, and instead You see the full view, and you see that you're it. You're the whole thing. You always were. It was only the focusing down onto thought activity and believing it that had you convinced that you weren't. So self-inquiry isn't a doing, it's more of an undoing, an unraveling of the false identity. It's a questioning of the very assumption that you are a separate self that could do anything to get somewhere else, because the truth is, you're already here, you're already awareness itself. Abiding as awareness is simply staying with that recognition. And there's nothing that the mind can do, that the separate individual self can do to abide as this, because that would be more overlooking this into a thought, into an image of the future, or a memory of some kind of awakening experience that you had in the past. So it's more looking for a new experience, when what you're looking for is the source of all experience. This infinite consciousness that's appearing right now and can appear as anything. When you say, I want to abide as awareness, I want to abide in my true nature, what you're really looking for is some kind of thoughtless state where you're simply being aware of being aware, and action is effortlessly arising. And the truth is, to consistently abide in that state requires the release of all your stuck emotions and the healing of all your traumas. So long as you have this contracted emotional energy in the body, it's still going to be fueling thoughts and feelings of being a separate, limited me, especially when the emotions are triggered by a situation or challenging circumstance. This is why people say, I can stay as awareness in meditation or at the retreat, but when I go out into the world, I completely lose it. Situations and circumstances trigger these contracted feelings in the body, call them suppressed emotions, trauma, samskaras, or whatever else. It gives you the chance to release them. Now, you can still abide as awareness as these come up. You can relax into experiencing yourself as the spaciousness that even the most intense thoughts and feelings arise within. They're just more likely to take you over, and you accept those invitations to be that limited separate self as you feel this discomfort. You see, the recognition, I am this presence of awareness as which everything appears, is the so-called awakening, is the recognition. It's completely unconditional. And ultimately, there's nothing you, as an apparently separate individual, can do to get to it, apart from to stop overlooking it. To have your thinking, feeling, and behavior align with this recognition is something that takes time. We can call it embodiment, and it involves the healing and releasing of all the suppressed feelings and traumas. You're already the sky. It's already the sky. It's already the case. It's just often obscured by these clouds of dense thinking and feeling. There might be something to do to clear those clouds so that the bright blue sky can be obviously seen again and the sun shining. But that doing is no longer coming from a chase for a better future or for some kind of blissful enlightenment experience. It comes from a complete acceptance of what already is by noticing this space of awareness that you are already accepts what is by its nature. Ultimately, it's preferenceless and desireless. But out of that arises a desire to heal, to evolve, and to align with the true nature, not as a way of seeking it, but as a way of embodying it. If we want to use the term awake, well, you're more awake knowing yourself as the presence of awareness that surrounds a barrage of uncomfortable thoughts and feelings than you are blissed out from an awakening experience and then forever trying to get that experience back again. So if the answer to self-inquiry never seems to come, or if you can't ever seem to abide as awareness, then what about simply being with your thoughts and feelings and seeing that they effortlessly come and go inside you, consciousness, because that's what you're looking for. And the longer you rest in this recognition, the more the contracted, limited thoughts and feelings will begin to unwind. The more you will receive insights and intuitions about what to do to embody this further and create wonderful dream manifestations and experiences. What you want in this world is already within you, within consciousness. And the more you stay with that, the more it gets outpictured in the world of form. For one-on-one coaching inquiries, go to speaktoalex.com. It's only for those serious about committing to deep exploration and life transformation. See you in the next video. Peace.